I've joined Susan Rhodes in her workroom. She's a textile artist who likes to stitch in threads as opposed to machine work. Am I right?
I've learnt more recently to enjoy stitching by machine as well.
Okay.
And I combine the two now.
All right.
Yes.
So that's
but
good.
my prime love was
Your original love was stitching with a needle.
And I still would not be happy doing a piece that didn't have some hand sewing on it, I think.
All right, that's interesting, because that was my first love, and I kind of have had to sacrifice that because time constraints and life getting in the way.
Yes.
But this is a beautiful example of some not complicated stitches, but on traditional kind of crazy.
Yes, it's a course I taught about building patterns with very simple stitches. So you do a framework stitch like herringbone, and then you add pieces to it, so it looks very complicated, but actually it's built up in stages quite easily. Yeah.
And some of the girls put beads and things on these days, don't they?
Oh yes, yes, they do.
There's a vibrant one.
On there, yes.
Oh look, yes, little beads. Well,
that one was based on this fabric, so I used all the colours from that one fabric to make the whole panel.
Very nice. And these are your samples.
These are my teaching aids.
I love the fact that you have time to make all these lovely samples. I love the fact.
Yes, yes.
No, it is essential. I should do it.
Yes, well,
but this is lovely.
I enjoy it. It's part of the teaching process that I really enjoy. And I feel if I've done the sample, then I'm much more able to think how long it's going to take.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes, I just do mine in patchwork. But this is what, crewel work, did you say?
This is crewel work. So this is a course that I'll be teaching next year.
Brilliant.
And it's based on the traditional forms, but I encourage students to think about maybe using the materials and techniques in their own personal way towards the end of the course.
I didn't realise there was so many varied stitches in crewel work.
Oh,
just how shows how ignorant. And is this done in wool?
Yes, this is done in crewel wool.
Wool.
Yes, and on usually on a linen twill or a linen union.
Okay.
Yes. Very hard wearing. That's why we've still got pieces from Jacobean times.
Yes. So, that's a pretty piece.
That's laid work. That's making patterns on with couching stitches.
Right. More crazy.
More patterns. Yes.
Pretty colours.
Yes.
Pretty colours.
That's just one thread. It's a variegated thread.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So two colours. The turquoisey one and the pink.
And then the
but because the colours change, it looks more complicated than it is.
Very pretty. Very pretty. Similar. Okay, that's
that's using the material to gain the colours. Just using
and inspire to use the pattern as we do in quilting. Just follow the pattern with your thread.
Right. Yes, buttonhole stitch around the curves. Yes.
Yes. No, very nice. Oh, similar.
They're fairly randomly organised.
Well, no. You are organised. What more can I say? You are organised. This is lovely.
Feather stitchery.
Oh wow!
So that was a particular technique using feather stitch and buttonhole stitch that was developed in the West Country by the WI and used a lot on children's clothes and aprons and sold at WI sales. And yes.
Just to add texture.
No, it's definitely pattern. It's pattern on plain fabric.
Plain fabrics.
Yeah. That's variations on a single stitch, so that's buttonhole stitch made the most of.
Yes, don't often see that on it's usually around a piece of fabric or an edging, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, but it's a very good framework stitch for building up pattern.
Yes, I hadn't seen it like that before.
That's running stitch, interlaced.
Wow. A lot of these simple stitches have been, I was taught running stitch and herringbone as part of school, and I don't think that happens anymore.
Oh, it doesn't. It's such a shame.
I was going to say that's a real wasted opportunity because I love using it.
Yes.
I love using it. This is lovely.
That's taking one stitch and doing lots of different things with it. And I find students really enjoy being told to do it crooked, do it in circles, use a thick thread, make it uneven.
Yes.
And that's more the contemporary style.
I was just going to say it makes it contemporary, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
But it's a traditional stitch. Once you've learnt the stitch, you can take it in whichever direction you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Holbein stitch.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. That's showing how you work
fabric with holes in.
Yes, it's binker. We used to work on that in school.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
Yes.
Yes, binker. I'd forgotten it was called that.
Yes. That's darning patterns.
Oh wow, that's not dissimilar to canther.
No,
in
no,
that
it
kind
is.
of.
It is very similar, except it's not holding layers together.
No, and different threads and things, but it was that kind of
That
parallel
pattern,
lines
yeah.
that this one
that particularly
yes.
is cantha
Yes.
based.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow.
This is a form of embroidery called gladzig, which comes from a particular area in Brittany and is used on their traditional costumes. And I teach a series of courses where we look at techniques associated with a particular area or time, and then we do a sample, and that's a typical pattern on typical materials.
That looks as though it takes hours.
It's actually
All that infilling and
yeah, but it's buttonhole stitch in a fairly thick thread. It doesn't actually take that long.
And is that chain stitch?
That's chain stitch. And this one that's stripy is one, and I'm going to try and say it, so I hope you don't have any Breton speakers. It's called point laoique, and it's a special way of arranging the chain stitches so you get that striped effect.
How clever. Yeah.
Sorbello work, that's an Italian one. Cretan stitch.
Okay. Much thicker thread.
That's a demonstration one, so
Yes,
that would be one I photographed for my handout so that students could see how to do it. Line stitches.
Those are pretty.
Yeah.
Those are pretty.
Yes. And this is Wessex embroidery, which was developed by Mrs. Foster of Bath in the 1930s. Counted thread. Palmer embroidery from Italy.
I didn't know so much.
Yes. I don't know what we've got left.
Got left.
More Wessex.
More Wessex.
More Wessex.
Okay.
And fly stitch, playing with fly stitch. Okay, such fun.
Yes, I remember fly stitch now. Yeah, that Y stitch, yes. Very useful.
Yes. And doing it lots of different colours and threads.
So that's that book completed?
Yes.
That's that one. So we had, we saw some of your work in an exhibition, and you were telling me about playing with drawing.
Yes, not drawing, basically. Playing with images, mostly photographs that I've taken, but these particular ones were architectural elevations from a guidebook in this Tournu that I went to in France, and I love Romanesque architecture. And I used these and worked in Photoshop to change the image and create images that I could print on fabric, which is what I do. And so you can see some of the images I've played with, trials to try and get the effects that I wanted, but it actually moved away from this.
Yes, with the machine.
Yes.
Variegated thread.
Yes. So it moved away from that quite quickly because it wasn't giving me what I wanted.
Right.
And what I wanted was the feel of the space and the history behind it. So I moved on to darker things and printing some of the images from my design, and then used them as part of piecing to make the hanging. Right. So that was my design process, and trying out various fabrics and stitching techniques to get the effect that I wanted. Yeah.
And then the piece ended up being about
a metre long.
A metre, yes, I remember.
Had to be a metre to go into the NEC exhibition.
Oh, okay. So you had yes, you were restricted.
Well, I had to have a minimum, so that was it. That was why it was that exact width. Yes.
Good. All right. Well, over your left shoulder, I can see something that is much more familiar to me. Half square triangles.
Yes.
And you're setting those on point. That's really lovely.
This is my first attempt at a bed quilt, because I've done mostly things that you put on walls or small things. And over the bed, we have a rather large abstract painting, which has all these colours in it. So I love batik cloth. Not least because there's no right or wrong side, so you don't have to worry which side you're stitching. And I've picked out the colours and looked at which quilting block pattern would work for me, and I wanted it to be fairly small and all over. I didn't want a definite block pattern. So half square triangles in colours that move into each other I thought worked quite well. So this is my design wall, which I've only had for a year, and it's made a huge difference to the way I work. So this is a work in progress.
Yeah,
yes,
it's lovely. It's lovely as a work in progress.
It's all the points meeting that I'm dreading.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be fine. I'm sure they will be fine. Well, and your motto this year is?
Get it done.
Okay.
Yes,
so
I'm finished.
I'm sure you will get it done.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing with us,
Thank
Susan.
you for coming. It's been a pleasure.